Welcome to Bloody Good Horror.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of Bloody Good Horror. My name's Eric, and I'll be your host for this evening, where we will be reviewing Becky with the long hair. Long hair, short hair, Joe? What is that?
Good hair.
Good
Becky
hair.
with the good hair.
Got it.
Eric.
I understand now. Joining me tonight, first up, from Parts Unknown, thinking he's cool tonight with a backwards hat. Please welcome John Schnars to the show.
If only I knew that was what it took to think one was cool.
I mean, Joe, does he not look like he thinks he's cool?
It looks like a dad out playing hoops with the kids.
Next
He just
up,
got back from a mow.
next up on the show, from Chicago, Illinois, please welcome Joe.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And lastly tonight, from Indiana, please welcome Casey.
Hello.
Cece's out. She not feeling well, so we wish her the best. She's okay. Yeah, we're here to review Becky tonight. This is a movie in which Kevin James plays a Nazi, which is not a sentence you get to say every day. So I just wanted to say it out loud at least once. So there you go.
I think white supremacist. I don't think he was actually gone through military training for his racism.
Well, there was a swastika.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real fine.
About who's a Nazi.
It's a
But
real.
what makes you a Nazi? Do
Okay,
you,
how about neo-Nazi?
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that makes sense. I assume Nazis were the actual army, right?
I think a skull-sized
it was a political
swastika
party.
counts.
Was it? All
Yeah,
right. I don't know.
They won elections in Germany.
Yeah.
Huh.
Back in the day. Hey, welcome to your history podcast.
Yeah,
here.
exactly. You're gonna get it all here tonight. But first up, Joe, what are we drinking tonight?
Beer guts.
I need the point, Eric. I need the point to tell me when to go. Hey, Becky, starring a couple great actors. One of them, Kevin James, who you might remember from a little show called King of Queens.
Oh,
In honor of-
Joe, we got so much stuff to talk about tonight between Kevin James and Adam Sandler. I have a feeling like you and I are either gonna come together tonight or we're gonna end up in fisticuffs by the time this show's over.
I got a good feeling. We're gonna end up together. Right?
Okay.
So in honor of Sir James, I picked a beer from the good folks at Three Floyds Brewing. That's in Munster, Indiana, and this is their Camulette Queen. Which, yeah, you like that one, John?
It's a stretch, but
It's a bit of a. So to be fair, this movie focuses on them trying to find a key for the most, and I had a key lime beer picked out, and right
Ooh.
before the show, I discovered that the brewery closed 2 years ago. So had to pull an audible.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Though.
Yeah, it was. But you can't get that one anymore. So, but this one is it's a Kolsch style beer, which is it's an ale, but very good around the summertime. It's very light and crisp. Usually I like to drink this one, and I think most people do ice cold, or on the colder side. It's crisp, refreshing on you get a little bit of the yeast, but mostly it's probably close to a Pilsner, but definitely an ale, and all around just delicious, especially on a hot day. Comes in at 5.5% alcohol, so not super high. Again, if you want to mow the lawn and down 5 or 6, you'll still be able to finish up and whack your weeds or do what you got to do. Three Floyds, I've talked about a handful of their beers. Big fan. They do great stuff. Pretty popular and distribute, a decent amount throughout the U.S., but definitely you can get into the Indiana area back when things are a little more normal, I suggest visiting their brewery because it's a good time. 3floyds.com is their website, and there we go.
I was going to say real quick, though, for you Three Floyds fans out here, let's have a quick moment of silence for their tap room there in Muncie that's not open due to after quarantine, unfortunately.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, most places.
They've announced that it's actually really responsible, and I appreciate that they've done it. Like, they're not opening until like everything's kind of done and gone away. So it's sad because their food is actually really good there too. But I think they're doing the right
But
thing.
I know, and I'm sure you've done this, Joe. But I know a lot of places.
Like a takeout room or like a gift shop where they sell their beer. So you can definitely go and get their beer.
When you
And they're still brewing,
when you
so,
bring a growler, do they fill up your nasty growler, or do they take it to sanitize it and then give you a clean one?
So most places are only selling new growlers, meaning they're not going to accept you bringing yours and having it filled up. At least the places around me. So the place I go to, Roaring Table, I've talked about them a lot. They do crowlers, which are like those big cans that they like, almost like an oil can that they make on site, or they fill and then they cap it. So I've been getting those, but you can definitely buy new growlers from most places.
Can you send me a picture when using the chat? I'd like to see what this looks like. This contraption.
Yeah.
It's just a big can.
Yeah,
They had.
I know that. I just want to see
The
it.
breweries around me, they have you could take your old growler in to get filled, and they have those things. They just kind of set them upside down over it, sticks out like a water pipe, and it hits it with hot water pretty well.
Yeah.
So
I think I know the places around me, or most of the ones, aren't doing like your used ones because they're scared of you bringing something into the brewery.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like
You don't want
because
your diseased growler.
because
up
let's
in
say
your,
let's say you're blasting it with steam and it's contaminated and that now aerosolizes. Like, you don't know. I'm not a scientist. John, are you a scientist? I don't think so.
I'm not, but I've read a fair bit about this, and what you're describing is in pretty extreme scenario for spreading
Okay, John.
coronavirus,
Whatever,
at
dude.
least.
You go drink out of somebody's butt growler then and tell me how that goes.
First of all, when someone drinks out of a growler, it's not like they put any part of their mouth on it. I mean, maybe Joe does.
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't know,
You're
but
making a lot of assumptions there, buddy.
Yeah, you get through like 3/4 of it, John. Eventually, you're just gonna start drinking right out of it.
Yeah, that's true. That's
and
fair.
you
You
can't
know
let
what?
it sit for long.
I side with Eric. He's right. on this.
Thank you. That is the correct position. Okay, guys, it is time. Let's take a quick break, so that we can review Becky.
This is it, Jennifer. Your big break in TV. Come to prime time. Main feature.
And we're back. John Schnars.
Hi, Eric.
How's the clear beard going?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Can you give me a turn so I can see the cheeks? You know, I mean, your signal quality isn't great, which we can talk about. Oh, actually,
I'm hard lined in right now.
yeah, sure. That reminds me of something, but I can kind of see hair. Joe? What do you think? What's the ruling on the cheek hair?
How long has this been going on? It looks like a 5 o'clock.
Oh
show.
no, I see it. Yeah, that's a day of growth.
Yeah.
Amazing.
There's
John.
some hair. It's not a lot of hair, but there's some.
John,
How
did-
many
Now's
weeks is
the
this?
part where you tell them that you didn't shower this morning, so it's just dirt.
No, I did shower this morning. No, but I shaved last week. It's like a week.
John, did you happen to listen to the Chernobyl Diaries rerun?
No.
I think you should, just for a few minutes, because your mic is so bad that I wanted to call you up in 2020 and yell at you about it.
You know what's weird?
It's
At a certain
god
point-
fair.
awful.
It's
It's like some onboard laptop horseshit.
I forgot what it was, but at a certain point, you asked him to read something because you made a comment that he has the best connection.
Yeah, it's just the mic.
Yeah.
No, it's funny because I feel like I've had one of these Yetis for like, I don't know, a
Yeah,
decade.
you
Like,
did
I
not
can't even
have
remember.
it. You did not have it in 2012. I can tell you that
Yeah.
right now, or whenever we did that show.
Possible.
We did. I did, of course, the famously steal Wi-Fi from the pool house in my apartment complex when we started this podcast. So we've come a long way, John.
Mm-hmm. No, that's true. We've professionalized, quote unquote.
Yeah. There you go. All right, John. Please bring us the word of the day.
Eric, today's word, shiv.
Oh,
That's SHIV. A shiv. This is, I mean, I think everyone probably has an idea. The definition here: a knife or razor used as a weapon. Often a homemade knife-like weapon. I think we're probably most familiar with them from sort of like prison dramas.
Yeah.
Is
I
where it was
like
popularized.
I like shiving as a verb
Yes, well, it can be used as a verb. You are correct.
because it's very
Uh,
evocative.
The origin is kind of sort of, I'm seeing a couple different things depending on where you look. There's a Romani word, shiv, with a C, C-H-I-V, which means blade. And then on Wikipedia, they reference shiv with an E at the end. It's from the 17th century, which also means knife. I mean, essentially, it's, it just has come to us from older versions of the word knife. It's interesting when you look at the usage over time of certain words. They show you that graph if you ever Google a definition. It's like 1960s. All of a sudden it goes bloop, huge spike, and with a peak in the 2000s, like Oz maybe.
Yeah, Oz, yeah.
So
there's a lot of shiving on Orange Is the New Black, or a good amount. There's at least there's a few shivings this season, I would say.
They reference a shiv.
Yeah.
On multiple occasions.
Everybody's got one, from my understanding, in Lady Prison, based on that show.
You gotta have one for defense, if nothing else.
It's
right?
true.
All the kids are doing it. You look stupid with that one.
Yeah.
I think in this movie we see Shiv. We can transition to talk about Becky. Multiple shivs. There's almost a I don't know what you call it, like a mirror between the shiv that we see Kevin James use in prison, or he hands someone to use, and then sort of roughly halfway through the film, Becky herself fashions her own shiv and uses it against one of the white supremacists.
There's something I like, John, about the fast motion repeated shiv. Like, that's when you're really getting into it, like, because you got it, right? Because it's not fully like a knife or something, so you got to really like make sure you're getting in there.
I mean, so this is why I think it's probably become more popular, and like we all are familiar with the term, because it is very dramatic. It's very sort of visual because of, to your point, the sort of fast motion. So
I also feel like it's like weirdly like animalistic. Like when somebody, to get to that place to do it, they've got to go to like a real dark
it's very close, right? Because the blade point
primal place,
is friggin' tiny. It's basically like punching someone, but with a blade.
But if you're gonna, you got to be so close. You got to be committed.
Yes.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, John. What do you know about? What can you tell me about Becky?
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny. I did a tiny bit of research. I feel like this movie snuck up on us a little bit. I didn't know anything about this. And then it basically hit VOD over the last week. The directors here, we actually have reviewed one of their earlier films. The directors are Jonathan Malat and Carrie Murnian. I don't know. Murnian, let's go with. They've directed 3 features. The first, their debut, was a movie called Cooties, which we reviewed back in 2014.
Oh.
Yeah.
Had no idea.
Was Joel McHale wasn't in that, right? That was Elijah Wood and
Yeah.
That was Dwight Schrute.
yes.
Yeah, there was a bunch of folks in that, but so they did Cooties. They did a movie called Bushwick, which has Dave Bautista in it. I haven't seen it. Sort of, I don't know. It has a genre look to the poster. I don't know anything about it. But yeah, otherwise, I mean, this movie, right? And I think, we saw the trailer. Someone shared it on Slack. It's an interesting one from a genre perspective. It's probably, if you just watch the trailer, I was sort of expecting maybe a little, I don't know, maybe like more horror elements. It's more of a straight thriller, almost like a home invasion type thriller. So the setup here is, we discussed Kevin James, obviously, but the main character, Becky, played by Lulu Wilson, I believe in the movie she's 13. And her father is Joel McHale. He picks her up at school. She's kind of like a kid dealing with some stuff. She's lost her mother. Her mother died, and so she and her father are kind of working through that in their own way. He picks her up at school, tells her he's taking her to their family sort of mountain home, and it's like a moment for her because she realizes, she thought they were going to sell this house because I guess it was sort of like something at the family, like they just felt like maybe it was time to move on. And dad reveals, no, we're actually going to keep it. But in revealing that, he also says, but my girlfriend is actually coming and bringing her child with her. And so the four of them are going to have this sort of weekend getaway. At the same time, I think the movie actually might open. We see Kevin James, white supremacist Kevin James. He has a swastika tattooed on the back of his head. I think we can just go with Nazi if that's easier for everyone.
Can we call him Paul Blart Mall Nazi?
Sure. But we see him. There's a shivving. There is someone gets shivved, and then we see him and three other white supremacist like gang members escape from a prison transport.
Are the other ones? I couldn't quite. Well, I guess the other one, like, they have the whole brotherhood thing going on, right? Like so yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah,
Sure.
I mean, well, no, I mean, there's definitely like just to like briefly describe these three guys. There's the one guy who's kind of his like muscle guy. He's played by Robert Mallet. I don't know, Eric. I think said you recognize this guy.
No, I knew immediately who this guy was. So he was a professional wrestler. I didn't recognize most of the places that they said he'd wrestled in, but in the late '90s WWE, he was there for like a year as a dude named Kurgan, and it wasn't. He was bad, and he was in a bad gimmick and bad story. But he's large.
He's huge.
He's a very large man. Yeah.
Yeah, he's gigantic, and I think a lot of his work has been in those types of roles. It's just playing huge, muscle-bound dudes.
I didn't know he was acting, so I was like, "Oh, look at this guy! I know that dude."
Oh, he was in 300. He was like that giant, like, monster guy.
I've never actually seen 300.
Yeah, it's
he's been in a bunch. His credit. He's got a bunch of credits, but and then there's like two other just like rando, I don't know, white dudes that are part of this gang. So long story short, they collide at this house. The setup is that Kevin James is looking for a key, and it's revealed to us, to the audience, before it's sort of revealed to the rest of the characters, but that Becky found this key. It was hidden in the basement of the house. We don't get any of that backstory necessarily, but we just know that that she has found this key. We see her looking at it. Then we hear him describing it, and he's basically going to hold this family hostage. Becky, though, had been out in her sort of hideout when the Nazis first showed up, so they don't even know that she's there. And there's this period where they're playing this game where the dad and the girlfriend are trying to convince them that Becky's a dog. There are a couple dogs. We can talk about that if you want, but the rest of the movie basically becomes Becky fighting back against these Nazis. And I think, again, we'll get into it. For me, what makes this interesting is like a lot of it is about her as a teenage girl dealing with sort of the grief of her mother's passing, as well as sort of like her anger at her father for, moving on or trying to move on with his life, and then like obviously there's like a shitload of murder and violence that starts up, and
yes,
she's revealed to be an interesting character. So
sure.
I don't know.
There you go. Joe, start us off. What do you think?
Yeah.
Actually, wait a minute. Give me your Kevin James take first, then give me your Becky take.
So my Kevin James take is much like my Adam Sandler take, where I think I started out liking him, and then I think like any bitter person, I turned on him thinking that he wasn't funny, and now I've kind of swooped back up. I think once you get close to or hit 40, you can start liking Kevin James and Adam Sandler again, and just not care that it's not cool to like them. Like, so I'm back in the Kevin James camp.
How do you feel about King of Queens?
I was never a big fan, but my wife loved it.
Yeah.
Is like a huge Leah Remini fan. And now I've what saved it for me is Jerry Stiller.
I was gonna say
he's pretty.
I never really watched it, but Jerry Stiller.
So
had his moments.
Years ago, one of my first, it might have been my first, I think, TV job. I worked in master control at a station that had like syndicated King of Queens. I'd never seen it before, but now it was my job to just sit there and watch it for like a couple hours every day. And I actually became a big fan of it. Like, I don't know that I would like love it now, but I remember at the time thinking it was really funny. He had a Comedy Central special around that same time, like early mid 00s. That was pretty funny.
I saw him at the Borgata. Leslie and I went. And he
Nice.
was actually like probably around that same time. And
he's
he
like very
was really funny.
physical. You know, he's kind of goofy, but he was pretty good. I don't know. I really like King of Queens. I'm fine with him as a person. Like I don't get the Paul Blart thing. I'm not with you, Joe, on the modern Adam Sandler comedies. Although it's funny, I just did watch. I haven't finished yet, but I watched like an hour of Uncut Gems, and Sandler's like incredible in it. And it
Oh, I
almost.
loved it.
But when I
loved
see
it,
that,
yeah.
and I loved funny people, but when I see that stuff, it actually makes me angrier to see the other shit that he's doing. And like,
well, I feel like
his
the
just
other shit he's doing
traveling
is just,
troupe,
like,
his traveling
him
act.
having fun. Like he's got an agreement with Netflix. He's just
No,
putting
no.
out stuff. I'll be honest.
It's
I started watching
horseshit.
all those movies, like the
No.
David Spade ones and stuff, and I'm like, these are terrible, but I
No.
love them. Like I can.
Hold
It
on,
makes me-
Are we going in Adam Sandler? Like, let's.
No,
let's
but
stay
it's
focused on
tangential
King
because I
of
feel like Kevin James basically has the almost exact same career trajectory, except that he doesn't have as much cachet as Sandler does.
Yeah.
But it's again, it's the same thing. Like, but it's just that this is the first time I've ever seen him in anything like this. But
They do overlap in the Hotel Transylvania franchise, which
That-
if you
those
haven't
movies-
watched
see,
with your children,
no.
Money.
those movies are
pretty good.
friggin' garbage. They're awful.
No.
They're god awful.
I enjoyed them.
Especially the cruise one, the last one.
No.
I
no.
haven't watched that one.
So
I've only seen the
stupid.
first two, so-
Anyway,
Salad.
Joe, I like King of Queens. I'm fine with Kevin James. I liked him here. That's my take on
Yeah.
him.
Yeah. I say, how old are you, Eric?
38.
All right, 3 years. You come back to me.
Okay.
Talk to me about this. But anyway, I really like this movie a lot. I didn't know a ton about it other than it had Kevin James as a white supremacist in it, and I ended up really enjoying it. I think the things I liked about it were that they didn't kind of go for the obvious gags, not the right word. I don't know what the word I'm looking for here is, but like they didn't go down like the obvious path, like because on the surface it looks like scarier Home Alone type territory, but like the Lulu is the main actress is amazing in this. Like I thought she
Yeah.
was great,
Yeah.
and like they really take her to a place that you don't see in movies like this. Like we've obviously seen kind of the kid fights back type things before, but like she goes fucking ballistic and like
Yeah.
stuff gets like real hairy.
You might use the phrase "rip shit."
Yeah, 100%. And I also kind of appreciate that, like, they obviously set up early that Kevin James's character, you know, has the swastika, has the whole thing, but like, they don't go cheap where like he's just goose stepping around the set the
Yeah.
entire time. Like, I think when John first suggested this movie, I think we were all kind of like, I don't know if this is like a good idea right now, but like, it's really not over the top with kind of
Well,
craving.
You know what helped me, honestly, is that from the trailer, it's not clear that he didn't target this couple because they're an interracial couple. It's just that
Exactly.
it's like his story happens to intersect with them, and the fact that they're an interracial couple like adds more plot tension.
Yeah,
It's very like
It wasn't just like a Nazi dude like torturing an interracial couple for an hour and a half.
exactly, which I think would have been the obvious way to go with this.
Yeah.
But I think they did a little more with it, and I think I don't know. For me, I've watched a ton of like these behind bars like shows and like documentaries, and like I legitimately believed Kevin James as like
He's pretty
a
good.
Nazi
Yeah.
inmate. Like,
Oh yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. Overall, I really enjoyed it.
Was that a
you hear-
cuckoo clock or?
You hear my cuckoo clock in
yeah,
the background?
just checking.
I used to not have it chime.
What are you,
but since I've been
90?
working from home, I started turning it on, and now it makes me happy.
Is that a symptom of enjoying Adam Sandler's Netflix movies? Buying cuckoo
Well, you know what it
clocks?
is? The cuckoo clock. It's my parents brought it back from Germany, and it obviously does not fit in our house. so
Weird
we've
show
always
to
had
bring
it
that
in
up, Joe.
our- We've- Das ist meine Schulterhund. I don't know, but-
Anyway, Casey, what do you think?
So, I never got into King of Queens either. It never sucked me in. I've seen a few of them. I didn't mind it. I don't mind Kevin James. And to go
Here's,
to
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, Casey, but like my problem with Kim and Queen has always been like I don't understand why those two don't just get divorced. Like they don't seem to like each other.
They don't like each other.
yeah,
You know, it's
They
funny
don't-
though. It's funny. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I guess.
I agree with John though.
I was-
Jerry Stiller carries a lot of it.
but as I was gonna say, as Joe was saying, once you hit about like that 40-year mark, I'm at like 46. I kind of unapologetically love Grown Ups with Adam Sandler
Oh,
and Kevin
Jesus
James.
Christ! All right, this podcast is done. I'm done.
Yeah. I
Hey,
just think
enjoy it.
you get to
It's
a point where
fun.
like it doesn't matter anymore. Like you can start listening to fucking Nickelback. Who gives a shit? Fuck you, kids.
But yeah, for the movie itself, for Becky, I didn't mind it. I thought it was pretty good. I would say for like a home invasion movie, they kind of stayed like to the surface of it. It didn't go super deep, but they made up for it with kind of crazy gore and some action sequences and stuff. And we got to see Lulu go ape shit, like you guys were talking about. And so that kind of helped make up for this being a somewhat shallow story. But like Joe is saying, we all had that first reaction, like, oh god, this is going to be hard to watch and review. They didn't lean so heavily on the white supremacy stuff, so it made it easier to get into, and it wasn't like off-putting so much. They did some interesting things, because I thought it was interesting, the whole interaction, knowing that Kevin James was a white supremacist, giant swastika tattooed on the back of the head. He didn't go out of his way to treat Joel McHale's girlfriend any differently or that bad. So
There's a couple of monologues that get,
his Rottweiler monologue, which Joe mentioned in email. There was the time when they first came up and he was talking about the coarser dogs to Joel McHale, and he's like, he's not pure.
I love, but that
was a
monologue
good
is so
approach.
great. It's so great for plot tension though, because that's at the moment where it's still unfolding and they're not sure what's going on, and it's like the switch flips and she immediately is like, you need to get out. Like it's just like it flips on a dime,
Yeah.
and then like 5 seconds later, as he kind of gets him sitting down, that's when he takes his hat off and turns around, and there's a great visual thing where we don't see the tattoo in that scene right away, but we've seen it before. And so when he turns to the camera and takes his hat off, we know they're seeing it. So there's like, they're focusing on their reaction.
Yeah.
It's just like really well.
Well,
I think
his whole
the
monologue
big-
is sorry, Joe. His whole monologue is the way to make this movie involve the white supremacy and use that angle without going over the top with him goose stepping, like Joe was saying.
yeah.
I think the problem with that scene, at
I
least
don't
that
understand
had,
what you
that's-
expected, Joe, honestly.
That monologue is the first time we hear him really talk in length. And like I think it's the first time we hear Kevin James talk about anything other than like farts and like eating cake. So like it sounds super weird coming from him.
Well, no, I mean, that's fair. I loved this movie. Like this is, it's like a really, first of all, Joe, 90 minutes, thumbs up. It's like a really tightly packaged little thriller, great music. But I just have to say, like, the only positive thing to come out of 2020 is that I almost no longer have to say this movie should have a synth score, because all the good horror movies do now. Like that is a battle, John.
Easy lay for these synth score.
That is a
films.
battle that is a battle that I have personally fought since the show started, and the tide turned, and I think we won, John.
Yeah, somebody won.
Yeah. So great score. I really like Kevin James here. I think he's doing some really interesting work. I buy him as really intimidating here. I think, Joel McHale, and can we get the actress's name that plays his girlfriend? I just didn't recognize her, so I wasn't sure what it was.
Yeah.
They're both good, but they're not given a ton to do, because it's not really about them.
No, totally.
And this main actress, this child actress, who we've reviewed in a couple of movies, which is this really interesting thing, because we've been doing this show so long now, we've literally, when you're this age as an actor, every time we see her, it's like she's basically a different person. Do you know what I mean? Because we literally, the first movie we saw her, and she was like a little kid.
She
and
was
then
in Ouija, the like prequel or
that
the
was
sequel
so
to
that was the
Ouija.
second one.
She was in Annabelle Creation.
She was in Annabelle Creation.
Yeah, and it's like, but now she's like a teenager, and this is like a different kind of, more advanced role for her, and she's really good. Like I think it's been neat to see her kind of talent and like career unfold, and I look forward to seeing her in more stuff, because she just brings this intensity. I think she's able to show a depth of emotion that's pretty impressive for how young she is. And she's great here, and it's just the movie gets bananas ass crazy. She gets super violent, and I thought they did it's blocked out really smart from an action point of view. Like I think all of the action scenes and even a lot of the dialogue scenes have a lot of great tension to them that comes directly from the director really knowing how to pull that stuff out with his camera placement and stuff. And he's even able to make the physical confrontations between her and these like grown ass Nazi guys like believable, because they're well thought out. And even things like sometimes she does things and they don't work. You know what I mean? She's got to kind of improvise on the fly, and I liked that little touch too. It's not like, because I've heard people call this like it's like super violent Nazi Home Alone kind of, and there is definite moments where you get that vibe because she's straight up setting up booby traps at points.
She only does that like one. I mean, it's
Or
not
she-
like Home
she-
Alone.
She does it
Like
twice I
intricate
can
Rube
think of.
Goldberg
She
traps.
goes down a zip line, John.
There's a zip
That's it.
line.
There's
She
a
does
zip
the tripwire, which is a fantastic scene. And then the fire thing, which is like not really a booby trap so much, but it's a setup. Like she's trying to lure him into that. But again, like sometimes it doesn't work. She's got to improvise. It's really solid. And it's like it's just like a small economical thriller, and you can see, I think, where they maybe didn't have a budget to do more. Like they probably had Joel McHale for like a day or something. You know what I mean?
Well, we didn't need any more Joel McHale.
Yeah, he's fine. He's fine. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it. It's like really intense and comes to a pretty in most ways, satisfying conclusion, let's say.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, the thing I would add, so I agree. I ended up enjoying this a lot. I mean, look, I described it as like a tight genre film. Like it is professionally done. I think the script is really tight. And so there's not a lot of wasted moments. And that involves that includes, I should say, the characterization, the way that we come to like meet these characters. And look, in some ways, so like the girlfriend that you were mentioning, her name's the actress is Amanda Brugel. I mean, like we've seen her; she's been in a ton of stuff, but she's not really like a character so much. She's just like somewhat of a stand-in, for the impact that the mother's death and that the father's like decision has had on Becky. But I love like a lot of the sort of more out of left field decision. I mean, we should talk about the fact like this key that Kevin James is trying to find. Well, she uses it to rip his eyeball out right in sort of early part of the film. Very strong, very solid scene. And then but it is 100% a MacGuffin, and almost like a overdone MacGuffin. Like it's like too much of a MacGuffin because like it's never revealed.
MacGuffin again, Joe.
Well, no, but it's like sorry, I just mean like it's never revealed what it is, and you basically come to realize like pretty early on in the film like it doesn't really matter like what they're there for. It's all a setup for her to sort of grow or go through her character arc.
I mean, there is a kind of like,
violent.
I don't know, there's a kind of like Pulp Fiction, box kind of thing. Like
Yeah, no, well,
in that
that's-
the design of it is like kind of whimsical and mysterious, and it's almost like a fantasy element in a weird way to this serious thriller story.
But it is kept like forward in your mind.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
Like
They
in
keep
Pulp Fiction, that's
bringing it
allowed
up.
to kind of wax and wane throughout the film. Here, it's like very much forward, and even to the point where the end of the movie, like it comes back up, and it allows her to have a last sort of moment of strength and agency over the plot.
I also think what
because
it does
of the way
is
she handles
it gives her, and in this way is maybe important to the plot, but it gives her some leverage.
Yeah.
Because she's outnumbered. They're all bigger than her. They're all armed. Like she needs something that they need.
Yes. No, and that's why it's super well set up. Because like, if this is a straight up home invasion film, these 4 adult men from prison are gonna annihilate this family very quickly.
Right.
But they can't just kill her. They need her to give them the key. And she doesn't even know. What I do think, and you all have talked about it. Like it's well handled from a scripting standpoint because it's not like they that she immediately figures it out, but they're looking for it. Like it kind of, there's a little bit of a give and take there. I mean, look, like I don't want to oversell it. It's not like the smartest movie ever written, but it is just like professionally done. And the performance is really good.
The breadcrumbs are like nicely laid out, I guess is how I would
Yes.
say it. Should we talk about this scene where Kevin James cuts his eyeball off?
Oh,
Well, before
This
we
was
get
the
to, like,
only moment where I felt like Kevin James baggage that he brings to it almost makes this scene silly, and it's partially because like he should be screaming bloody murder and he's not, and he's just like he's having like a slapstick scene with this other guy about cutting his eyeball off. It's like a little weird.
I just assumed he's been through some things. Like I think Kevin
Yeah.
James has done some things and been through some things that have hurt him, and he's kind of like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna take my eye out.
You mean
I think-
you mean the character in the movie?
Maybe both, John. I don't know. I mean, I think
He's had some real lean years, John.
I think before that we should talk about like the first kill that Becky does, because like that I think is where this movie really takes a turn, because it's set up, and not to go back to like Home Alone again, but like it's set up kind of like that, where she's in her tree fort. There's the guy outside, and like she goes down the zip wire, and like we've seen her sharpening pencils, and she kind of snaps her ruler in half, and you're like, all right, she's gonna try and cut him and stuff. But like when she goes after that guy, it is fucking insane. And like I think that's when you realize that like, all right, this movie's doing a little more than just
It's
like a kid fighting back against these
high quality shiving in that scene.
Well,
It's unreal.
Best
No, and
best
that's-
stabbing since the Black Coat's daughter. You heard it here first.
that was no, but it was shocking, and that was the point I was going to make. Even like because it plays into the eyeball thing as well, Eric. Like this movie is way more violent than I was expecting, and
Yeah.
it's not that it's like
Yeah.
it's not even like violent, like fucking prison fight violence. It's there's like close up gore shots. I mean, there's a sequence, whatever, somewhat of a spoiler, but there's a sequence where someone gets run over with a lawnmower, and there's like a close up of the head that's just like been run over. I mean, it's almost comedic in how extreme it gets, and that eyeball sequence is part of it. I mean, I didn't know before watching it that these guys directed Cooties, but it sort of makes sense in
Yeah.
some sense that
Yeah, that's what I
they-
was thinking.
that's their sensibility. But it's super over the top.
I think that one of the things I really respect about the script is that it doesn't go for any of the kind of easy emotional layups that you could have gone for. And I think specifically it's set up that she does not want her dad remarrying, right? Her mother's only been dead for a year. She clearly just gives her dad a lot of shit. She doesn't like this woman. I think they were meeting for the first time, right? I'm not
no,
even sure.
I don't think it was the first.
Yeah.
Do you think they knew each other?
That wasn't the sense.
But like once Joel McHale dies in the first act, like that's not really a spoiler. But like,
well, and that's the thing that also like to me kicks the movie into like
Yeah,
another level
yeah.
of violence, because she's already sort of like she's portrayed as like an angsty kind of like
Yeah.
troubled teen, and then she sees her father literally murdered in front of her, and that's like, okay, now I'm going back to my fort and I'm getting some shivs, and I'm gonna,
John, you know what
you know,
other movie
really
did
get down.
this? You know what other movie did this, John? It was also really effective. Strangers Pray at Night.
Oh, never saw it. Still have not seen.
Oh,
on
John,
my list.
John. Joe's gonna tell you not to. He's wrong.
Well, do you like good movies, John?
You know, it's really a toss up for me, Joe. And
But
Okay, well, if you don't like good movies, then absolutely see it.
okay.
Yeah.
But like
I really
once
liked
you once you kill the dad, it would have been really easy to go the like hacky Hollywood screenwriting thing of she really comes together with the fiance and the son. But
Yeah.
really, she doesn't give a fuck about
No,
them,
she
really.
does not
She
give a
really
fuck.
doesn't. And even in the end, there's no denouement of like, oh, thank you for saying it's just done and it's over.
No,
Shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Well, no,
almost like
that's
don't
what-
see them.
And then they go for the full on dark ending with her, like twisted ending, which I kind of love. Like it's really ballsy.
Yeah,
well, that's why I like the screenwriting a lot in this too, just because like all the characters are, a lot of them are multi-layered. Even Joel McHale's character is multi-layered. Definitely Becky, even Kevin James' character is multi-layered a bit, just because she's dealing with the grief of her mother and not agreeing with her father with how he's doing anything, and just being angry at the world. And then, but the fact that they leave it that there's no way there's going to be a happy ending between those. They're not going to patch them up, and it makes you feel for her there. But at the same time, her attitude makes it harder for us as a viewer to connect to too, because she is being a brat at times too. But
No,
you
it's-
understand why.
I think
It's a-
Leslie, I joked around with Leslie with like a half an hour left. I'm like, is it weird that like I'm nervous for Kevin James now? This
Yes.
Nazi murderer, and I'm like, oh god.
I mean,
No,
I
it's a
like it. I mean,
total-
I didn't feel that way because I still wanted to see her kill him, but it is an interesting flip. It creates almost like a double-sided tension.
No, she's.
I think what I'm
she's-
saying is, sorry, John.
No, no, it's all right.
At a certain point, you stop worrying about her because, like,
Yes,
for half of the movie, you're nervous that something's gonna happen to her, and then at a certain point, you flip over and you're like, all right, like, I just want to see her fuck these people up.
I think that's a better way to put it than I felt bad for Kevin James in this movie.
I'm nervous for the Nazi murderer.
No, I mean it's a unique film in that she's an anti-hero 13-year-old girl. Like she's
Right, yeah.
because like I mean, yeah. That I do think to give the screenwriter some credit, the decision to make them neo-Nazis makes them so reprehensible that you're kind of like, do whatever you want to them at this point. And so
yeah.
you know, yeah, I mean, the way she kills some of these guys is super. She drives the boat into the water.
I
She's
know.
driving the boat backwards. This dude's like kind of in the water. I mean, it's just, yeah.
Did anybody catch the little what I choose to believe is a Nightmare on Elm Street reference? There's a definite little moment where like they do a little Evil Dead like preparing montage thing, and in that montage when she flips the tripwire, it's literally framed exactly like the shot in A Nightmare on Elm Street when Nancy's setting up the tripwire in the house.
Oh, really?
Yes.
No,
Catch that.
I trust.
it. I'm not.
I trust your judgment on this one.
Whatever, guys. Lame.
Is that the one with the hand thing, the claw?
Yeah.
The-
Yes.
That's the guy with the knife hand thing.
Yes.
With Bob England, right?
There you go.
I was just gonna try to make a Rick and Morty reference, but I don't actually remember what they call the Freddy Krueger guy in that show.
Oh yeah, I don't know either. But
What other scenes do we like here?
I mean, all of the kills are pretty fun in their own way.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that first one's just so shocking. Like it just like I think Leslie and I didn't speak for like 2 minutes.
Oh, we
after.
didn't-
Like,
Well,
we-
and
Go ahead.
there's a shot of there's a close-up shot. She uses a ruler, and there's a close-up shot of the blood running down this sort of rivet or rivulet. I don't know what you call there's a channel in the ruler, where your pencil goes, I guess. I don't know.
ribbit.
But yeah, in any event, the blood's like running down. I mean, I liked it. It was a good shot.
brutal.
If you're in
We
for close-up bloody ruler shots, it's A+.
we should
Can we talk about
mention.
the dogs?
Yeah, we should
Yeah.
we should warn people. There's some dog violence.
There's more dog violence than I've seen in a movie in a while.
It's not really. It's kind of unnecessary to a degree. Like I feel like there's too much, honestly.
It's weird that there's one dog that the family clearly cares about, and the other one they're just like, oh well, at least it wasn't the other dog that got hurt.
No, well, there's one dog that is Becky's dog. That's sort of like
Yeah.
the one that Becky seems to like. Well, and the way that it's set up is, I think the dog that Becky likes is like the bad dog, and so like she goes with that dog to her hideout, and the other dog like stays in the house. Yeah, I mean, the scene where the first dog gets killed is pretty gruesome. I mean, like I'm not a dog person, but like animal violence in general is always like sometimes it can be cheap, I think, in films. It's not necessarily that it's cheap here. It dramatically raises the stakes. Like you're immediately like, oh, these guys are not fucking around at this point.
I wish I
So,
could remember
Then
what it
they
was.
Also murder the father, John.
Yeah, but no one cares
Eh.
about Joel McHale compared to a dog.
It's
is what I'm
weird,
saying.
like it's weird. It's weird that immediately after that scene, where one of the guys like shoots the dog a bunch of times. There's a really funny line about how many times he had to shoot the dog to kill it. I wish I could remember what it was. Like, but it's a weird because it's a really funny line. It comes after this really gruesome scene.
I don't remember laughing much.
Yeah,
at that.
I-
No,
Yeah.
the guy says like, did you have to? How many times did you? I don't know. There's just there's a crack about how many times he shot it.
Yeah. I don't know, John. I would argue that nobody cares about that dog that got shot first. Too.
Is that the one? I didn't know which one you thought was the one.
Nobody seemed to care about that dog. Like,
I love that she's like.
that was Diego.
I love that she's using the walkie-talkies to like fuck with them. Like she throws it over the house to him at some point and is like reading some kind of creepy poetry to him. like she's from that movie Joyride or something. Like I can't. Like she's literally turns into a stalker at some point.
yeah, it's a good movie. I liked it.
Yes. All right. I guess that's it. So we should mention it's on. You can rent this on Prime streaming, I believe. Is that right, John?
Yeah, it's on. There's a couple. Yeah, I think YouTube has it for rent. A couple
Nice.
others.
Okay. Would you recommend this, John?
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, absolutely.
Casey?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Joe, on the other side of the break, I think I'm going to need my list for 2 reasons. One of which you're not going to like. Let's take a quick break and do some fan mail.
Tuesday night. It's 30 years later, and right on schedule. The killings start up again. 6 so far, maybe more.
It's back, and it's mad.
Take your pick, Billy boy.
Something bad's going to happen to one of us.
Get out of Derry while you still can.
I'm going back in. This time I'm gonna kill it. Something's coming.
The thrilling conclusion of Stephen King's It, Tuesday night.
Hi, I'm Denise Crosby from Pet Cemetery and Mortuary and The Walking Dead, and you are listening to Bloody Good Horror.
Send feedback to info@bloodygoodhorror.com or on Twitter using hashtag AskBGH. Join Patreon to get back episodes and much more. Patreon.com/bloodygoodhorror.
And we're back. Jojo,
What's up, motherfucker?
what do I have on my year-end list for this just absolute nightmare every year?
You got Come in this order: Come to Daddy, VFW, Gretel and Hansel, The Invisible Man, Extraordinary, Color Out of Space, Underwater, Blood Quarantine, and then you have nothing for number 9 and The Hunt at number 10.
Blood Quarantine.
Blood Quantum.
Oh, Blood Quantum.
Just like, what
Yeah,
the
sorry.
fuck? All right, I didn't actually like that
Joe's
movie,
just
so
making movies up.
I didn't actually like that movie, so you can take that one off. Blood Quantum. Put Becky at number 2.
Oh,
And you know what? Go ahead and bump Underwater up to like 4 or 5. You pick, Joe. Underwater's really good. It's gonna move up my list. I can tell. It's a dark horse this year, John.
and then just move Fantasy Island to like number 2. Is that
No,
what
and
I
then
heard?
I would like you to put. You can put it towards the bottom. I'll figure out what's gonna go later, but I want Scare Package on there.
Jesus fucking Christ, Eric? This is a lot. I would have liked a heads up.
Oh, Lord.
So John, the Scare Package debuted on the last drive-in this week. It's not actually available yet.
Oh.
It'll be on Shudder soon.
No, I refuse to add that garbage tank to this list.
No, listen. So this is what happened. It's an anthology film, and like most anthology films, the middle's like kind of weak. But it's Casey. Have you seen it? You're muted, bro.
Channel.
Yeah, I caught the last syllable you just said.
Oh, I was with you in the channel.
Got
Friday
it.
night when we were watching.
So it's got a really delightful wraparound story about like a video store. The first 2 segments are like some of the funniest horror comedy stuff I've seen in years. And the middle 2 segments are admittedly like very weak. And Joe just happened to come in at like the worst point of the movie and was just turned on it immediately and was like so
Yeah.
pissed off.
So Eric is underplaying this. There's 9 segments.
It's a lot.
The,
Yeah.
The first 2 apparently were amazing.
They're very, very funny. Yeah.
The 3 and 4 were unwatchable, and then 5 through 70 or however many there were meh.
Did
The wraparound, the last sort of wraparound was entertaining, but
I'm not saying in a normal year this would make my list, Joe. I'm just saying right now it's on my list. That's all.
when
I
we
would say,
used to
Joe-
have worst of, it would have made my list.
I would say, Joe, you should go watch like the first 20 minutes of it, get through the
It's-
thing that happened in the woods.
The
and,
thing with the
yeah,
pile of goo is like incredible. It's really
That's
funny.
the thing that happened in the woods, I think.
Yeah,
You
so
know
if,
what? I'm fine. I
it's
think
on.
even
It's gonna be on Shutter this weekend, I think. Debut.
The-
So.
best of that movie is still, I'm assuming, not great. So I'm cool.
All right, whatever, man. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com's email address. Joe, before we get into email, which we only have one of tonight, let's talk about shirts quick and what we're doing in June.
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I want to thank everybody that's bought a shirt because we've had like a really, really amazing turnout. But for those of you who don't know, we're donating all the profits from our t-shirt sales this month to Color of Change, which is a great organization that was found back in 2005. There's more info on bloodygoodhorror.com if you want to read up on them. But yeah, you go to our TeePublic store, you buy a shirt, anything that we're receiving from those sales, we're donating, and then we've also donated $500 to the cause as well. So again, like a huge turnout, and I want to thank everybody that's done it. There's been, the first few days we got a ton, and then there's been kind of a steady trickle throughout the month. So it's been really amazing. And we also have a new t-shirt design, which is really our logo that we kind of blacked out and put on a black shirt, which folks have been really into also. So go do that. And yeah, again, thank you guys very much. It's been like humbling how much we've actually ended up selling so far.
Yeah, fantastic. I did get an email too telling me that mine is getting sent out, but it was going to take a while. I think running this charity thing they're doing is really been overwhelming.
Well, that, and I think just we've had a few new $10 patrons sign up as well. So because of COVID and a lot of shipping issues, things are a little slower. But I think TeePublic's done a really good job of kind of keeping everybody updated on where their package is. So it's just taking a little longer, but everything's getting delivered.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Joe, for that update.
Thank you.
Next week, John, you should have left with one Mr. Kevy Bacon, right?
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
The Kevster.
It's a Jason Blum joint. It's a Blumhouse.
Kevin Bacon apparently hasn't made up all that money he lost to Madoff yet. So here we are.
Ooh, was he big on Madoff?
Oh, they lost like all their money. Him and is it Keira Sedgwick? Is his wife? Is that right?
Yeah, Keira Sedgwick.
Yeah. They got
fleeced. It's unfortunate, but also you were part of a Ponzi scheme, so.
Well, they didn't know that, John. You victim blaming now?
Well, some of them definitely knew. I mean, whether or not he knew is like a separate question. But
yeah. So we're doing that. And how do we see that? How can people see that? Is that one of these theatrical going on demand things?
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I haven't seen a good Bacon movie in a while.
Yeah, it's Universal. I'm trying to check now, but it's Universal, and they're the ones who did Trolls and have been shaking up the theater chains.
Yeah,
getting real AMC all hot and bothered.
Well, AMC apparently may not even exist when this is all over. So what the fuck?
Nah, well, almost definitely not. Not in its current form anyway. Amanda.
I swear to God, John. I swear to God, if this theater near me with the fucking leather seat shuts down, yes, I will lose it.
That's it for you.
Yeah, we're done doing theater.
I'm never going to the movies again.
Go and sit in disgusting regular chairs.
I will not go back.
No, I refuse. I'm with you, Eric.
Thank you, Joe.
I'm very excited to talk about Kevin Bacon plays the dad / boyfriend, I don't know, and then Amanda Seyfried is his wife / girlfriend. 62 and 34, I believe, are the ages, or 61 and 34. So.
I do appreciate he's at least leaned into a more natural amount of gray in his hair. So here we are. That movie we saw with him, he looked like Creed from The Office when he put ink toner in his hair. What was that one where they steal the rocks from the reservation or whatever?
Yeah, it's like the Native American demon thing. I forget what it was called.
The movie was not very
The Darkness?
The Darkness,
maybe.
Yes, I believe that's right.
Okay.
It was bad.
Awesome. So that's called You Should Have Left. We're doing that next week. info@bloodygoodhorror.com is the email address. First up from Natalie. She says, thank you so much for both the words and actions from BGH in support of Black Lives Matter and the current civil rights movement. You guys make me proud to be a listener and a part of the Slack community. Thank you, Natalie. We've gotten a lot of nice messages and obviously a lot of participation. So just trying to kind of do what we can here. So thank you for that. That's it. No emails. No Professor Plumpkin Joe this week. Aren't you bummed?
That's tough.
Joe.
37th time's a charm.
Do we have tweets? Or
I don't know. That's not my job. I've done my job for the night. I'm waiting for you.
Well, usually you announce them or make some sort of introduction. But
he likes the point, Eric.
Tweets. We got tweets. We're on Twitter at BG Horror. Every week we use the hashtag AskBGH. That's you got a question, you want to learn some things, you want us to help you, just get there. First up from our friend Lori, who I believe has changed her Twitter handle. This is Hover Female. I think she used to be Nylon Avenger, right? Is that?
That sounds right.
Yeah, I think her yes.
Yes, Nylon Avenger.
Yeah.
Davenger, that's right.
King of Queens as a baddie. Who are some of your other favorite potentially miscast genre roles? I still get squeamish over Travolta in The Fanatic. P.S. Joe BGH, no more Nylon. Oh, she says it right in there. No more Nylon Avenger. Yeah.
I mean, I'm always fascinated by the actors that can do both really well. But John, I think it was you on Slack or somebody recently, we were talking about Insomnia. There was that whole period where Robin Williams was like, F it, I'm going as dark as humanly possible. And he turned in some incredible performances.
Yeah, 1 hour photo.
Yes, that movie is so creepy.
Yeah, that movie's very creepy.
We didn't talk about it, but according to the IMDb, Simon Pegg was supposed to be the lead in this movie, and Kevin James replaced him after he had some scheduling conflicts.
I could see.
So yeah, that could have been
Kevin James in this.
Was he gonna do an accent or like?
I don't know.
Kevin James in this movie is like if Action Bronson was a Nazi. That's what he looks like.
He did have a pretty impressive beard.
Large, big beard.
Yeah.
Enjoys meals.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of beating a dead horse, it's our buddy C.O.W. Flanagan.
My dude, you leave him alone.
Yeah. My man Kevin Bacon is playing the husband of Amanda Siegfried. In that horror movie. He's 62, my age, and she's probably 19 or some shit. Finally, something that speaks to me in horror. Can we see more of that in the coming years? Much love.
How did he spell?
I'm pretty sure that's like
maybe if you're lucky.
Joe,
the standard.
Joe, really important question. How did he spell coming?
Well, he spelled coming Cumming.
Okay.
He spelled horror Horeer.
Nice. Between that and Siegfried, I approve of this one. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, I think saying more of like miscast ages is pretty much what's been going on in Hollywood.
Yeah.
The dawn of time, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing more of like obviously that's trending different. Like you're seeing, because you're getting a lot more, I think, women producers piloting some of these projects, you're getting a lot more age appropriate casting.
I mean, I've got to imagine this is addressed in the movie. Like, there's no way they can have like her and him together and not like.
Well, yeah, based on the trailer, I think it's a second relationship situation. Yeah. So.
All right, next up from our friend Diana, that's Diane. I don't know, I'm saying it wrong, but whatever. Favorite smoothie flavor? Yes, I'm drinking a smoothie right now.
Strawberry banana. That's always my go-to.
No, anything chocolate peanut butter.
Oh yeah, well that's fine. Yeah, that's
I'll go with that. I mean, does anyone think smoothies are still healthy for you?
Like,
no.
No, but as a meal replacement, I'm totally there for it. Like,
No, I go for a smoothie when I'm just down in the gutter and I just need a blast of sugar to like try to knock me out of it, you know?
But you can get them with you can mediate the amount of sugar in it. Like,
it's kind of a moot point. The last time I had a smoothie was when we met up in Milwaukee. It wasn't even a smoothie, actually. It was more like I don't know, what do you call it?
Like a juice blend or whatever.
Yeah. And I made
cheese curd beer.
I made Andy walk to Jamba Juice with me so I could get like a liter of just a green looking thing to try to revive myself.
Oh, I remember that.
It did not work. It worked for a little bit, I guess. And then you guys made me wait in line 4 hours to get breakfast at 2:00 in the afternoon.
No, I will not take blame for that. That was all Andy.
It's cool. I'm definitely not still bitter about it.
Yeah, I mean, once you hear the word brunch tossed out, you know you're in.
You're like, we're fucked. You're like, I should just eat breakfast now because it's not what it's gonna be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Fuck you. I can drink and eat eggs and still call it breakfast at 6 a.m. All right.
Well, that was the so when we did this last meetup, I ate whenever I needed to eat. It was not waiting. I learned that lesson, Joe.
Next up from our friend Cody Yolo, is this the Becky with the good hair?
You mean the long hair?
The long hair.
I mean, her hair was fine, I assume. I don't know if I would call it good. Like, it wasn't spectacular, but, you know, it was It was fine. So no, I assume not. I assume this is not Becky with the good hair. Anybody else? Metal Prof at Metal Prof. So Rebecca was too long of a movie, and you went for Becky instead? Question mark.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, that's a what's his name? Hitchcock film, I believe is the reference there.
Rebecca.
I didn't know it was that long. I don't know. So.
Next up from Shine Master 9000, he asks favorite rap hip hop album. Anyone?
I definitely have an answer for this. So if we're going old school, I'd probably say Doggy Style. Like I like the Chronic a lot, but to me, Doggy Style is the one. Either Doggy Style or that first Warren G album is like all time for me. Modern, I like pretty much everything Eminem's put out except for maybe the last few. And that Kanye West, the Beautiful Dark Fantasy, maybe.
That was gonna be mine.
And that first Kendrick Lamar album's fucking fire.
I listened to a lot of the older Tribe Called Quest stuff. I mean,
Joe has not listened to any new hip hop since like 1995.
I just nothing. I don't like this Kendrick Lamar and like that's not rap to me. That's I don't know.
It's the first album is really good and it's got a lot of Dre production on it, Joe. I know it doesn't do much for you, but
I guess. But even like the last Dre album that came out, I think it was on like iTunes. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
It's pretty good. It's interesting. Like I don't know. You're just gonna send me down a rabbit hole here, Joe. But so you go back and you listen to like the Chronic or you listen to that Doggy Style album. The production's actually very simple, like very simple beats, hooks. And just music production has just changed. So you listen to that new, like Chronic 2001 is probably a top 5 for me. That album's incredible.
It's awesome.
That album's incredible. And even that one's pretty sparse production-wise. But, you know, he's trying to, like, you got to think, like, now you're dealing with, like, trap and all these different subgenres of rap where the production's gotten very intricate. And I kind of feel like Dre was experimenting with some of that stuff in the new one. It's still pretty good. It just feels different.
I get it. I get why he's doing it. I get why people like it. It's just it's not my thing. Like,
I do like
in the 90s as far as rap.
I give him props for like trying to push himself and not just making 2001 over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what I want, but I get why he's not doing it.
I
would go All Eyes on Me by Tupac or Bizarre Ride to the Far Side. Like amazing. Like I think it's underrated. I think a lot of people don't recognize it as much, but it is awesome, start to finish.
I feel like
Hey, John, did you get that new ABBA collection that came out too?
ABBA. I feel like a lot of us 90s kids, though, like that West Coast hip hop was like staple. Like that stuff just dominated everything in the early 90s.
That's true. I mean,
like I literally was walking around as an 11-year-old and I knew all the lyrics to Doggy Style, which is a just god-awful, filthy album.
But I don't know, like Nas Illmatic is
it's pretty good too.
Like it's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Like I listened to a lot more West Coast, but like there's still like Wu-Tang's first album is still like start to finish amazing. Like there's
I
a lot of good East
really
Coast.
I really liked I listened to a lot of that first Fugees album when I was a kid, and then I loved Lauryn Hill's solo album. A lot of it's more like kind of soul R&B, but it's
Hers was great.
I wouldn't even put that in the same.
There's some really good like just straight up rap tracks on there. Though,
Yeah.
too.
Hers was good. Wyclef's solo album was great. The
It's
Carnival.
alright.
Like,
It's all right.
no, I refuse to say it's all right.
Yeah. Praz,
I will say, to
Praz had that
surprise
one song,
everybody-
Joe. Praz had that one song with Maya.
Ghetto Superstar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never been big into like historically into hip hop. I know I listen to Beastie Boys a lot, a couple others like that. But I will say recently, I've been listening to Run the Jewels' new album, and I'm pretty impressed. I'm kind of dig.
Nice. Very nice.
Very solid.
If anyone out there really likes Eminem, wants to have a 12-hour academic conversation about it with me, I'm open. My DMs are open. I have lots of thoughts that nobody cares about.
Cypress Hill's Temple of Boom, amazing. Which I found out that like Leslie's like third cousin was the drum player on.
Nice.
Yeah, he played on like a bunch of shit. He did a bunch of stuff. He was like the Beastie Boys.
It's a funny thing about like the late '90s, where in the late '90s, I feel like all of a sudden all that East Coast like bad boy shit took over, and there's some really great singles, but the albums are unlistenable. Like
They're awful.
like
They're
like
pure
that
garbage.
one Mace single is awesome. You know, you got I think like that rock remix of All About the Benjamins is like all
Yeah.
time, but none of you could not sit down and listen to those albums because they were just garbage front to
They're
back.
terrible. And then I think for me, like once Master P and like all that stuff took over, like it lost it for me.
Well,
Like,
so I
that's
was
where
like,
kinda fell off.
this is like a touchstone for me. But I remember because so Snoop left Death Row, right? And he was kind of in limbo for a long time. He couldn't release a new album because of his contract. They signed him. No Limit signed him, and they released an album. And I listened to it once through, and I just could tell that it was produced by two different people. So I looked it up. Half the tracks are produced by Dr. Dre. The other half are produced by Master P. And you can tell the Master P produced ones because they're just literal dog shit. They're like, it's like the worst production you've ever
They're
heard.
awful. Like I just couldn't get into it. Like it just felt very like over the top MTV like rap. Like it was just like whitewashed. It was terrible. Like it was.
I do
was a
really
sad
like.
time
I do really like some of the modern. Let's say early Kanye West, maybe modern Kanye West, not so much. But
Oh, what is it? High School Dropout.
That's
the
a
first
good one.
I
His first
loved.
one's incredible.
College Dropout, I liked, and then once he got into like the weirder stuff, it just again like I get why people like it, but like I'm very much like trapped in the late '90s as far as like rap goes, and
I do like I like a good rapist, Joe. You know, I appreciate the art form.
rap song.
Rap song. What is that from? Is that SNL?
It's Andy Samberg.
Oh yeah. It's good. Now I need to go see that.
You know what's funny is the guy who said in this question forgot to use the hashtag, and normally I'll just skip over it, but I'm like I want to talk about this for a half an hour, so I. Last one from Content Wolf. Two things stood out to me after watching this movie. Lulu Wilson is an absolute force, and look forward to future roles.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
Strong agree.
She was in Sharp Objects. Did you guys watch that?
No, was that any good?
Like,
I don't think so.
She was equally good in that. She was amazing. That was a really good miniseries. And then second, Kevin James, also great, but his script was way too verbose and articulate for a Nazi psycho.
Well, there's got to be a leader, right? Who knows what he's doing, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that is kind of like a staple in these movies, right? There's always like the
ringleader,
the ringleader.
the mastermind.
That's it for tweets.
They broke
I
out of
honestly
prison.
think coming out of this, my first thought coming out of this with Lulu, the actress and her performance here and the other stuff we've seen, I think her and the gal that was in the new It movies, they're going to be like the next generation's Jessica Chastain,
Bev.
Amy Adams level actresses.
I think it probability is high that both of them will be very successful.
Well, they both have a ton of credits already.
We had this conversation.
But they're really good at it too.
We had this conversation for GTAP, but now whenever I see a child actor, all I can think is how awful their parents are for letting them be in Hollywood.
Oh, I'm terrified for Lulu. Like she's seen some shit.
Like as a parent now, especially with daughters, I'm just like, don't let your kid go to Hollywood. Like it's a bad scene.
Hashtag
I don't know. I mean, there's lots of counterexamples where it's not gone terribly.
You don't know these people personally, John. You don't know what they're hiding.
I got two words for you, John. Drew Barrymore.
Yeah, that turned
We were
out
just
great.
talking about Airborne. I believe it was before the show. Jack Black, Seth.
Yeah, they're dudes, and whatever the dudes who have been abused too and like messed up and.
Oh, you're worried about okay.
I'm talking about like the abuse of putting a kid around all these adults where there's clearly a lot of predatory behavior of several kinds happening.
Eric,
and now
got rid of Harvey Weinstein.
So now, the problem's over. So now, literally, I'm watching a movie and I'm like, God, this like child actor is so good. And then I'm like, oh God, this poor kid is gonna be so fucked up.
I think whatever. We don't need to get into this. I was gonna say you worry less about the ones who are good. It's the ones who are like marginal, where that's I mean, yeah, okay. You're making me think about negative shit right now.
It's not even, but even just the spotlight getting turned on you, right? If you look at like somebody like Millie Bobby Brown and all the issues she's had with like just people on the internet being creepy with her and stuff, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's no kid is prepared to handle that. Don't let your kid listen. If you want to let Stranger Things, if you want to let your kid like do some community theater bullshit, like, and then let them grow up and decide they want to be an actor, go for it. Don't put your kids in movies, guys. Like, come on.
Yeah. You're not wrong, but like we need kids to be in movies. Like are we gonna stop making movies?
What's
with
more
kids?
important, John?
Yeah.
Your entertainment or these kids' lives?
It's still.
I'm
I
just saying,
understand
like the
that we're-
market will, like they will.
Listen,
There will be jobs there.
Listen,
Like,
listen,
I
listen.
don't know what
I just saw The Irishman. They made Robert De Niro look a full 5 years younger than he normally does, John.
That's true. They
So they could do
Are you
anything.
volunteering to play a child in a
Get
CGI?
get Danny DeVito in there.
100% could. Just put a wig on him.
Get Danny DeVito in there. Age him down.
Mommy!
Just go to town.
I understand the fears of the predatory stuff and whatnot with these young kid actors and stuff these days, but what gets me through is like you look at these kids and compare them to the Brat Pack when they were that age. Those kids, Drew Barrymore and them, were getting
all fucked
photographed
up.
drinking at like 12, 13
That's
years
what I'm
old.
saying. You just grow up too fast and whatever.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, they
we-
seem to be
Problem is-
avoiding the drug and a substance abuse so far, is what I'm saying. It seemed
I
to
mean-
cut with like Lindsay Lohan.
I mean, the thing that scares me, like being a father of two girls, is like men are just fucking disgusting. Like we're awful, awful creatures, and I fucking hate us.
Well, this is why we all have to be out here as better examples. I mean, that's all we can do.
Yeah, John,
know?
you really, with that hat on, you really look like a better example tonight, John.
All right.
I do have to say,
All right.
here's the funny thing about The Irishman. I've now seen this movie 4 times. Incredible movie. It's really
I've
good.
never watched it.
It's
I should watch it.
incredible. But like Robert De Niro at one point plays himself in maybe his 30s. Like I think really the script is trying to tell you he's in his 20s. And they're doing some like CGI de-aging, but it's like they kind of just smooth his face out and make his cheeks look like more red and stuff. But they can't counteract the fact that his head is now 4 times fatter than it was when he was younger. Like you just get older, your just head gets fat. Like and same thing, and it's like same thing with Pesci. They're trying to age Pesci down, but he's like 90 years old or something. Like he's just old as hell. It's they
Wait a
got it.
minute.
They need to work on the bone head shaving technology if this is going to keep happening.
You've watched The Irishman like 4 times, you said?
At least 4
And
times.
isn't it like 3 hours long?
It's very long. I mean, I watch it in like bits and pieces when I'm working.
I was
so.
going to say, you're breaking your own like cardinal rule.
No, but no. My rule is if you're over 3 hours, I know what I'm getting into. I know.
Okay.
I know. And it's Scorsese. He gets a pass.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
You can't tell a story in 90 minutes.
Yeah, that guy's
ridiculous.
he's an artist. Casey, come on. He's not making these like.
That's fair.
He's not making these horseshit hour 50-minute Netflix movies. You know what I mean? It's bullshit. All right,
Paul
guys. Paul, have you seen a Paul Blart movie, Joe? I don't think I have.
I think I've
I've
seen the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I recommend it. I mean, you got to be under the influence a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it.
I think I need
forgot
to
there
watch
was
it
a second
again.
one.
Because it was definitely in like that movie's got to be like 10 years old now, right?
Older. I think
Yeah.
it's at least 15.
early 2000s.
I was in my like
I don't know.
sarcastic 30s of like, this isn't cool. I'm gonna fucking, again, hit 40 and just give up.
11 years old. It came out in 2009.
All right. There you go.
All right. There you go. Info@bloodygoodhorror.com. Don't forget all proceeds this month are going to charity. Joe, what's the name of that charity?
Oh my God. Fuck. Why'd you put me on?
I'm sorry.
Color of Change.
Color of
Color of
Change. That's
Change,
right.
yes.
That's everything in our store. So if you go to bloodygoodhorror.com, we have a black on black design you can check out. But if that's not your thing, any of our shirts, we have some of the old meetup designs, some of the OG designs like Joe's wearing tonight. And you can check that out. So, and huge thank you to everybody who's bought t-shirts so far. Like it's actually really blown away what we were expecting. So that's really great.
Yeah.
And next week, the return of the Mac, Kevin Bacon with You Should Have Left. I want to talk about a good hip hop song, Joe.
You lied to
Return
me.
of the Mac. Oh my God. It's so good.
Yes, I cried.
Great. Now that you've said that, Eric, Kevin Bacon's going to try and release a rap album.
You lied to me. All these things I said were
I love you.
You lied to me.
So I tried.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
I mean, we've done it now, Joe. We have to get the whole thing out of our heads, or it's never gonna leave. All right, guys, that's it for the show. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back next week.
See you.
Oh my God.
Bye-bye.